WWE supposedly has major plans for the move of Monday Night Raw to Netflix, but what are those major plans? Could we be seeing an end to the WWE brand split? We got all that and the latest right here on Off the Script. Also, Bill Goldberg has recently come out and stated his retirement match will indeed be in WWE in 2025. But when and where will that happen? I got the latest on that. A Becky Lynch rumor killer has been floating around the IWC. And the latest on Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. What is the plan for the Young Bucks and the return of Kenny Omega to AEW television? All this and so much more right here on Off the Script. We will start with the Young Bucks. Now, there's backstage news on the Young Bucks and their AEW hiatus, plus a Kenny Omega return. Now, AEW will be without the Young Bucks for the next few months. They have been the tag team champions for quite some time, recently dropping them this past Wednesday on Dynamite to Private Party. Now, on Wednesday, Private Party beat the Young Bucks, and the Young Bucks handed over the championships and basically got in a Jeep and fled the scene of AEW Dynamite, not wanting to deal with Jon Moxley and the Blackpool Combat Club. Now, news broke out of that show as well that Nicholas Jackson has been working with a separated shoulder. It was added that the injury had been bothering him for weeks, and in the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer reported that while there is no timetable for his return, the Young Bucks themselves, won't be wrestling at Full Gear later this month and may take off the rest of 2024. Meltzer wrote, there is no set timetable for a return past. It'll be for a while, and they aren't scheduled for Full Gear. It'll be no longer than January since they are confirmed for the joint AEW New Japan Wrestle Dynasty show in Tokyo on January 5th. It is a co-promoted AEW and New Japan show, basically Forbidden Door for New Japan in the Tokyo Dome. Now, in recent days, Kenny Omega has discussed making his return as well to AEW television. The last time he was on TV was when he furthered the Elite storyline by being attacked by both Matt and Nick Jackson, as well as Jack Perry and Kazuchika Okada. In the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer reported that Omega is talking about a comeback as if it's a thing rather than a possibility, so his return should be relatively soon. The idea all along has been to set up a fifth match with Kazuchika Okada. Now, if you guys have been watching the Wednesday night Dynamite program, you saw the Young Bucks not wanting to do anything in regards to the Blackpool Combat Club. They got into a van, they fled, and they left Dynamite on Wednesday. I don't know where this is going, but clearly Action Andretti, Private Party, Top Flight, the Dork Order, they are not going to be able to take down, and nor should they be, the Blackpool Combat Club. There's going to need to be a faction to take down the Blackpool Combat Club. And I honestly think that AEW, this could be a very out there prediction. I think that AEW is going to drop everything that they've done with the Elite, Tony Khan, Kenny Omega. They're going to drop everything that you saw in 2024. And they're going to hope that you don't remember it. Their fan base is not going to remember it, but at the same time, they are going to remember it. And people like me are going to call them out for it because we've obviously wasted weeks of television time telling something that clearly didn't have a payoff. WWE has stories going on right now that have payoffs, long-term payoffs. They have their problems as well. But I've never seen a pro wrestling promotion start something, it goes nowhere. We know it goes nowhere. And then they just drop it completely to do something completely different. And then somehow it ties into what they dropped recently on AEW television. So thank you for wasting my time. Thank you for wasting precious hours of our viewing experience. AEW is setting up the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega to join forces once again after they get whatever they need to out of their system. And they are going to be the ones to take back AEW and raise the flag in defense of All Elite Wrestling, because at the end of the day, it is their promotion. They're the ones who started it. Who is this going to include? I don't know. What do we do with Jack Perry? Do we get Adam Page on board? Do we get Adam Page, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks against the Blackpool Combat Club? I would find that to be fucking laughable. I really do. And the only saving grace in that would be Kenny Omega and Adam Page. I don't want to sit here and deem it a failure already, because Kenny Omega is sorely missed, and he is genuinely one of the very few pieces that remain as the heart and soul of AEW. His absence has been absolutely felt all across the company. And Adam Page is probably the best act that they have going right now on all of AEW television. He is tremendous. Best body of work in his entire career is Adam Page. Maybe one of the best in-ring, I would say, performers and characters in all of pro wrestling is Adam Hangman Page. But the Elite, for them to just drop everything right now after spiking Tony Khan on his head, having him go to the NFL draft wearing a neck brace and embarrass himself, to give us anarchy in the arena, to give us blood and guts, which basically only served this Swerve and Hangman coming together again and getting that steel cage match at All Out. To do all that, all of a sudden then to drop it. You mean to tell me that they don't have any creative problems? Now, I'm going to wait and reserve judgment. I don't want to deem it a failure. If it's the Elite as we see it now, with Jack Perry and Kazuchika Okada and the Young Bucks, then it will be a fail. But if they include Kenny Omega and Adam Page, I will reserve judgment, because I am very fond of both individuals, Kenny Omega and Adam Page. But they're going to have to tell one hell of a story to get us convinced that what we saw when Kenny Omega was on TV last makes sense whatsoever. How are they going to make sense of that? They put this guy out with diverticulitis and beat the shit out of him and loaded him onto a stretcher and said, goodbye, thank you for coming. And then we have Jack Perry throwing intestines on a fucking birthday cake. That doesn't sound like people that want to team with the Young Bucks. Or Kenny Omega, I should say. I don't know if that's going to work out. So they're going to need to really tie up severe loose ends there if that's the plan for saving AEW. But they will be off TV until they eventually meet up with Kenny and they join forces once again. I'm assuming that Wrestle Dynasty match will be the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, and maybe Hiroshi Tanahashi, or maybe Kota Ibushi. I'm not really sure, but it will probably serve as Kenny Omega's return match, and then he will be back on AEW television. Becky Lynch, rumor killer. There was a rumor going around about Becky Lynch, and on the latest episode of Backstage Pass, Jonathan Coachman stated that Becky Lynch was reportedly asking for $2 million a year, but WWE didn't do it because if they paid her, she would be on the show right now. Now, sources who spoke with Fightful shot down that rumor. Fightful reports that Becky Lynch and WWE are indeed on good terms, as WWE respects Lynch's decision to take time off. The company stated that if Lynch wanted to sign a deal before her absence, they would likely have done that already. Sources outright denied the $2 million number, as Becky Lynch didn't ask for that, and they were told by WWE they would have jumped at the number if she had. Lynch's contract would well be in the $3 million plus for her return to WWE. I am assuming Charlotte Flair got the largest women's contract in WWE history. And if Becky Lynch is floating around out there, I'm assuming that WWE will either match it or top that and make Becky Lynch the most successful and highest paid female in the history of the business. But good for her. She's taking her time off. And good for WWE for allowing that to happen and trusting her to do so. But I don't really understand why anybody cares about who is making what and how much money they're making, man. It's very, very weird behavior. So WrestleVotes also added that Lynch is expected to return at some point, although she's not likely back anytime soon, as the leave of absence is believed to be extended. And this was reported by WrestleVotes. Becky Lynch's name is still on the weekly talent roster. I'm assuming if we are to gauge when a Becky Lynch return will happen, I'm assuming it will be within the Royal Rumble. That just seems like the best place to do it. And with this year's NXT roster being the strongest that it may have ever been in NXT as far as the women's division is concerned, that Royal Rumble in 2025 is going to be one hell of a Royal Rumble with the talent that is probably going to be involved. And I'm assuming Becky Lynch will be a part of that, making it one of the most star-studded, if not the most star-studded women's Royal Rumble that they've ever done. So Becky Lynch, rumor killer, she ain't going to AEW. Nobody gives a shit what she's making. It's very weird behavior, and she will be back in WWE as her husband, Seth Rollins, just recently signed a new long-term extension. So I don't see her going to Tony Khan and wasting away and withering away like Mercedes Moné. See what I did there? Yeah, I did that unintentionally. Moving on, Goldberg. Oh, my goodness. Bill Goldberg. His retirement match was going to be a thing. We didn't know when. We didn't know where. So the man himself has stated that 2025, it is already a done deal. WWE will serve as his retirement next year. But it will not be, reportedly, at the Royal Rumble. Now, at Bad Blood, a little context. World Heavyweight Champion Gunther came out for a promo to promote the upcoming Crown Jewel match that he had then. He lost to Cody Rhodes this past Saturday. And Goldberg was in the crowd. This sparked not a conversation. I would like to see what type of conversation Gunther has with Goldberg. That would be great television. A confrontation between Goldberg and Gunther, who was sitting front row. Gunther said that he lied about Goldberg, who was sitting with his son, being his favorite wrestler a few weeks back on Raw, while in a segment with Bret the Hitman Hart. He hoped Goldberg was a better father than he was a pro wrestler. I'm assuming that's the case. Goldberg jumped the barricade before he was held back by officials and Triple H. Now, this led to fans thinking that WWE was planning a match between the two. In the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer reported that Goldberg versus Gunther is not scheduled for Survivor's, again, take it with a grain of salt, not scheduled for Survivor Series or even WrestleMania. On a recent edition of Backstage Pass Q&A, it was asked whether they thought Goldberg may show up and interfere in Gunther's Crown Jewel match. While that idea wasn't confirmed, it was said that WWE has future plans for Goldberg. WrestleVote stated, yes, I don't know for sure, but there are plans for Goldberg in the future. WWE has plenty of spots open to do the match, including Saturday night's main event, the Royal Rumble, and the February Saudi Arabia show. Now, Goldberg last wrestled in 2022, and he lost to Roman Reigns at the Elimination Chamber that year. Dave Meltzer previously reported that the match wasn't planned for WrestleMania 41. And in the latest daily update from the Wrestling Observer, Meltzer reported that the potential Goldberg vs. Gunther match may not be planned for the Royal Rumble. No further details were given. I don't know where they are planning to do it. But Goldberg said that his retirement match will be planned for 2025. Now, that doesn't mean Goldberg can't wrestle. He can't wrestle once this year and then retire in 2025. We may be looking at a match between Goldberg and Gunther before his actual retirement match. I would assume that it's going to be against somebody that could benefit from beating Bill Goldberg. Now, Gunther could benefit by beating Bill Goldberg, but I don't really think Gunther needs to beat Bill Goldberg. In fact, I don't really give a shit to see Goldberg versus Gunther anyway in a one-on-one match. Gunther is so beneath that. It would go 5 or 6 minutes. He'd slap the shit out of him for a little bit. There'd be a spear, a jackhammer, a spear, a jackhammer, and then a kick out, and then Gunther would fucking give him some more knife-edge chops, a power bomb, sleeper, goodbye, good night, thank you for coming, Bill Goldberg. That would basically be the match. Now, I don't really care to see that. I could see Goldberg and Gunther at any one of those shows. I could see Saturday night's main event. I could see the Monday Night Raw on Netflix, debut on Netflix. I could absolutely see it being at the Royal Rumble. I could even see it being at WrestleMania. But do we want to waste Gunther's WrestleMania match on Bill fucking Goldberg? I don't think that's the right move to make at all. If you want to do Bill Goldberg and Gunther, I do it at the Royal Rumble, and I get it out of the way and have Gunther give us a proper WrestleMania World Heavyweight Championship match. Whoever that is against, that remains to be seen right now. It may be John Cena for all we know. I don't know what the plans are. But as far as Goldberg's retirement, I only want to see one match, and that one match is Braun Breaker, the Battle of the Spears. Braun Breaker's spear is basically the spiritual spear to what Bill Goldberg used to do in his prime on WCW Nitro during the Attitude Era. I would love to see that take place, and I think that would greatly benefit someone who is obviously the future of the company in Braun Breaker. Gunther could use it, but Gunther don't need it. Gunther's already a made man. Everybody thinks Gunther's one of the best pro wrestlers on the planet anyway. I don't really see what it does for him to beat Bill Goldberg. It doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't do anything for Gunther. I mean, we already think highly of him already. So what would the point be? Braun Breaker would benefit greatly by retiring Bill Goldberg and beating him and having that W on his resume. I retired Bill Goldberg at WrestleMania. That's what I would do. Now, I don't know how we get there. I don't know what the plan is. Because right now, what I have penciled in for Braun Breaker, if he's still the Intercontinental Champion, would be Braun Breaker versus Sheamus for the Intercontinental Championship. We'd have to take that IC title off of Braun Breaker, put it on somebody else, and then give whoever that person is Sheamus at WrestleMania, because I do think the best plan for Sheamus is wrestling for the Intercontinental Championship. And none of what I'm saying should really be taken into consideration because it's still so fucking early. We don't know where any of this is going. But that's what I believe is best for Sheamus. I would love to see him finally get that Intercontinental title at WrestleMania. Now, I don't know what the plan is for Gunther. You know, rumor was that it was CM Punk at Survivor Series. Damian Priest just won a number one contenders match on Monday Night Raw. It looks like they may be doing Damian Priest and Gunther at Survivor Series. I don't know what his plans are for Saturday night's main event, if he does have any plans. I don't know when his next title match is going to be after Survivor Series. We don't know. But Rollins wants the title. Punk wants the title. We don't know what Drew McIntyre is going to do when he gets back to Monday Night Raw, if he remains on Monday Night Raw. There's a lot of question marks. John Cena obviously is going to be in play. He's retiring in 2025. Does he win the Royal Rumble? Does he get Gunther at WrestleMania? There's so many moving parts. But I would do Gunther and Goldberg, honestly, either at the Royal Rumble or Saturday night's main event. That would be the best case scenario, because I do think Goldberg in prime time on Saturday night's main event on NBC, I think that would be probably what WWE is going for. And then we can start building Gunther for a proper world championship match, as I do think that Goldberg and Gunther at WrestleMania is very beneath Gunther at this stage of his career. So we'll see what happens, but it is a very interesting scenario playing out. Goldberg's retirement. He's obviously getting a match with Gunther. Is that the only match he's getting? And if he does get his retirement match, when is it going to be? So I will definitely keep you guys posted on all of that right here on the podcast. WWE news on Netflix. This is coming from Fightful Select. Talent Fightful Select has spoken to have not been told what brand they will be on as of yet, or if there will be a determining factor in such. Now, Netflix supposedly had mentioned they want CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Cody Rhodes as names on the men's side they're hoping featured on the show. Now, when Fightful reached out to WWE about hearing this news, they noted that the rosters aren't decided as of yet. One higher-up joked, Saudi wanted Yokozuna. We want Yokozuna back as well. I'm sure Netflix does too, without giving too much detail into what we actually asked about. An interesting note, a number of talent from both SmackDown and Raw were at the Netflix commercial shoots on October 27th, including the eventual released Baron Corbin. That's kind of fucked up that they asked him to be there and then they fired him the very next week. They've also learned that Io Sky, Kairi Sane, Motor City Machine Guns, Elektra Lopez, and numerous members of the LWO, amongst others, were also there filming. Fightful was told that Cody Rhodes and Netflix had also discussed a potential movie role that didn't end up coming to fruition. As Fightful Select reported, the Intuit Dome in Los Angeles is expected to be the location of the first Raw on Netflix. Those that work for the venue had the event hyped up to them as a major one. though the company hasn't given us any particulars. Man, Netflix is now demanding CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Cody Rhodes, and the only way that happens is if WWE ends the proper brand split that they have going on right now, where they could be on the show every single week without any limitations, and Netflix would get what they want, as well as SmackDown on USA Network getting what they want. Now, Netflix is paying $5 billion over 10 years for WWE programming. I think they have majority stake in what they want and what they want to see on their show, being that they're investing all that money into WWE. But the SmackDown deal is also nothing to sneeze at. You can't take CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, and Roman Reigns, two of which are the top names on SmackDown, and leave SmackDown with nothing. Now, sure, Fox wanted all the major names as well because they felt like they were the bigger deal and the bigger brand compared to USA Network, and SmackDown was the A show and Monday Night Raw was the B show. Now the tides have changed. Now SmackDown is back to being the B show like it used to be, and Monday Night Raw is back to being the flagship A show like it used to be. But that doesn't mean you get to choose and pick whoever you want to be on the show. I get that they're paying all this money, but WWE has a product that they are comfortable with producing week in and week out. Things need to be organized. Things need to be a certain way. You can't say, because I'm paying all this amount of money, I'm going to actively change all this and blow everything up and make everything the way I want it to be. No, you can't do that. You can't do that. I don't know if WWE is going to be ending the brand split, but I would assume that we're talking about that first Raw. I do think Roman Reigns will be there. I think it's going to be an all-hands-on-deck situation. I think Reigns will be there. I think Cody will be there. John Cena is going to be there. Punk is going to be there. The Rock is going to be there. It is going to be one of the biggest WWE shows of all time on January 6th. But if WWE wants to end the brand split, I don't see why this is a bad thing right now. Now, you're not going to hear a peep out of me. I like when WWE keeps the brand separate. It gives us a reason to watch. The roster is large and the roster is vast. But listen to me when I say WWE right now is operating with 2 hours on SmackDown and 2 hours on Raw. They were 3 hours on Raw and 2 hours of SmackDown. There were 5 hours of main roster television. Now, the rumor is, we don't really know yet. It's not confirmed by any source at all. But WWE, the latest we heard was that Netflix is going to be closer to 3 hours than we see right now with 2. And SmackDown, come January, is going to be moving to 3 hours as well. Now, again, that has not been confirmed by any multiple sources at all. But if that is the case, WWE could be ending the brand split as we know it, because 6 hours of television, right now, these shows, especially SmackDown, is not built for 3 hours every single week. And the rumor was SmackDown's going to be 3 hours for at least 6 months out of 2025 as an experiment from January to June. And then they will reassess their experiment to see if they would remain at 3 hours or if they need to go back to 2 hours. I guess the ratings would be a determining factor in that. So 6 hours of WWE programming between Raw and SmackDown. Sounds like the brand split could eventually come to an end, or WWE completely purge NXT and fill all the logic gaps and all of the roster holes with NXT talent and separate the shows and divide the rosters that way, making SmackDown a little bit stronger than it is right now and plugging some holes as far as depth on Monday night. I don't know why we need 2 brands if we're going to have 6 hours of television, if that is the rumor right now. Again, nothing is confirmed. So we could be looking at the end of the brand split, or at least a little bit more lackadaisical as far as the brand split rules. WWE may not even announce something like that. They just may go and do whatever the fuck they want, and Raw will be on SmackDown, and SmackDown will be on Raw, and nobody will even bat an eyelash. 6 hours of television is a lot. It's a lot of pro wrestling mixed with NXT. It's 8 hours of television for WWE on a weekly basis when it's not a PLE weekend. So we'll see what happens, man. If that is the case, I am going to give my seal of approval on that. I think the shows need it. I think it will be a little bit more streamlined. I think it will be a little bit more organized. I know a lot of people are probably thinking, well, how many talents are not going to get the rub? And how many talents are going to be not without an opportunity? I mean, this is why they are being paid to book the show and write the show and produce the show. We are just fans. We don't really have a say in the matter. But I think they could make it work if they have 3 hours of television and they want to do something like end the brand split. I think it could absolutely work. It worked once before. Well, I don't see why it can't work again. So we'll see what happens with that. Netflix, supposedly going to be 3 hours, or at least closer to 3 hours than we see right now. And SmackDown, the rumor is that it will be going to 3 hours. We could see a large number of talent defect from one show to the other, and WWE will streamline their brands to be one cohesive brand instead of two separate brands. So we'll see what happens with that. And finally, WWE has big plans for Damian Priest. Now, this is also coming from WrestleVotes Radio on Sportskeeda's Backstage Pass on Patreon. It was noted that WWE plans to strengthen the Damian Priest character. You already saw that on Monday Night Raw. He did win a number one contenders fatal four-way against Seth Rollins, Sheamus, and Dominic Mysterio. And they also updated his theme music. Now, it was Def Rebel's theme, just remade with actual instruments. And I'm assuming an actual band played the intro. So they are definitely updating little things here and there about the Damian Priest character. And he is in for a major push. We'll start with Damian Priest. As we left off with him Monday Night-wise, we're told that there are talks to strengthen the Damian Priest character in regards to merchandising and appearance. WWE's discussed Priest's paying homage to his Puerto Rican culture with him embracing the Vegigante mask. However, that was the research that led to the pronunciation of the Vegigante mask. I'm probably butchering it, but if you guys know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. If you recall, Priest had done the mask once before at WrestleMania 40 when he came out with Finn Balor for the tag team match. So we're told WWE is strongly considering making this a part of his character and really turning up his baby face persona. I like it. I like it. Damian Priest is definitely going to need something to make him stand out, especially if he's going to be without the Judgment Day, which, in my honest opinion, the Judgment Day was Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley. And without them, Damian Priest has kind of fallen a little stale. So I don't know where they're going with Priest as far as his solo push, but I would not disregard Finn Balor. I do think that they cycle back to that, as Finn Balor was making some nasty facial expressions to Dominic Mysterio when he was saying he wanted to go after Gunther in the World Heavyweight Championship. Finn Balor has been kind of sitting back with an attitude as of late. I don't know if he's going to be removing himself from the entire Judgment Day situation. I don't know if he's going to focus on himself. Maybe he wants Gunther at one point or another. Maybe he wants to go stop Damian Priest because he feels like he should be the world champion first before Damian Priest gets his rematch against Gunther. I don't know. So we'll definitely see what happens there. But I do like updating Damian Priest's character. You need to keep him strong. He had such a tremendous 2024. And the fact that he's now in the middle of nothing and he's being thrown into a match with Gunther that we know he's not going to win. He's just kind of stuck in the middle of the road doing not much of anything after having such a tremendous 2024 where he won the world championship. He was in the main event of Monday night almost every week with the Judgment Day. The Judgment Day had 4 or 5 different segments spread across a 3-hour show. They were just as big as the Bloodline. And they were just as important to their show as the Bloodline was to SmackDown. And now they're not. So what are we going to do with Damian Priest? We have to keep Rhea Ripley strong. We have to keep Priest strong. We have to keep certain aspects of the Judgment Day strong. Liv Morgan, Finn Balor. What are we going to do with the tag team championships? Dominic Mysterio obviously has a great future, a bright future ahead of him. I hope they make it work. Because right now, Rhea Ripley's out with injury. Damian Priest is kind of cold. And so is the Judgment Day. They are not the same group as they were back in April when Damian Priest won the World Heavyweight Championship from Drew McIntyre. Thank you guys very much for all of your support. Hopefully you did enjoy this update. Remember, there is no Tuesday Night Titans. Jason and I will be taking this week off due to the election, and we will be back next week with episode 72 of Tuesday Night Titans. I will be live covering NXT tomorrow night from the ECW Arena. I'm very excited about that. I was a big ECW mark, and then I believe I will be covering Dynamite on Thursday, not Wednesday, but Thursday. So we will see what's going on there. Maybe I'll get Jesse on board. If not, I will obviously be doing it solo. So we'll see what happens there. Keep an eye and an ear out for all of that on the socials at JD from NY206 on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Cameo. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below, and please turn on that bell for all notifications. Go subscribe to the second channel. Some great shit going up there all week long. And make sure you guys hit that thumbs up on your way out. Let's try for 1,000 likes today on Off the Script. Until tomorrow, guys, I'll be back live with you right here on the podcast with NXT from the ECW arena. I'll talk to you guys later.